Me too.
How long you dress?
Tim said you were going to be heckling me, so you sit right there. I don't want to.
No, just my husband. He's the heckler.
Good. Well, good morning. My name again is Dean O'Neill. I'm the Deputy Chief here at Northeast Teller Fire Protection District, or NETCO. I want to say a thank you to Pastor Burnett for letting me come in this morning, and for Tim, who reached out to me about a month or two ago and said, hey, why don't you come give us a pep talk on some safety things. So just a quick little background on me. I've been here in Colorado 3 years now, originally from Arkansas, from the Little Rock area, where I worked as a paramedic for 10 years, and moved to Florida. So when Pastor Burnett said, it's a hot day, I went, No. I worked in Florida for a fire department for 27 years, and it's slightly warmer there. So we moved here 3 years ago, and people ask me about, why did you move from Florida to Colorado? I said, I didn't move from Florida, I escaped Florida. The county I lived in was half the size of Teller and had 1.2 million people. And they were all on track, on the road, like in front of me when I was going to work. So I tell them now, I said 25,000 people, sometimes going to work, I see deer, and that's it. So I appreciate just a few minutes to be able to come and talk to you about safety. Generally, when we start talking about safety, we're, especially in the mountains, talk about wildfire safety. We're not going to do that today. Who's been to a fire lately? Me. When was our last one? Last night. We got done at 1 o'clock this morning. The reason I mention that is I'm sitting in church and I love coming back and being able to be with people instead of just on Zooming it. But I looked at the technology and seeing all this. So last night, I'll give you a little quick story here. We get a call for a fire. And it's on one of the forest roads. And we're trying to find it. We've got crews in different areas. And I just happened to pull up to a gate. And I'm about to pull through this gate out on north of town here. And I saw in my rearview mirror some smoke. So had an idea where it was, looked it up on the map. No way we could have walked back in there anytime soon. So what kind of technology do we use? Drones, okay? So I look at Zoom, and I look at cameras, and I look at what we're doing in church, and go, it's great. So we had 3 drones up in the air, and it took them all of about 45 seconds to find this fire. Now, it still took us an hour to walk back into it, okay? But we were able to take care of that. So I just had to throw that out there since we did it so recently. Worked out well. And even though we're the fire department here in Woodland Park, we don't do this alone. So between 4 Mile and Mountain Communities and Green Mountain Falls and Divide, we all do this together. So it's awesome to do that. I tell people that, and they ask us being firefighters, I go, I had the worst job in the world. August 1st of this year, I've hit 41 years doing this. And it's still, I tell people the best part about being a firefighter is never had to grow up and get a real job. Okay? I had a real job for 6 weeks. I taught high school. Won't be doing that anymore. So let's talk about home fire safety. First of all, show of hands, how many of you have working smoke detectors? Excellent. And you check the batteries when? Twice a year. But what are we finding out now with smoke detectors? They're good for about 10 years. They all have like a bottle of Budweiser. If you look on there, there's a born-on date. Smoke detectors have a born-on date. But what's nice now is with the technology again, lithium-ion batteries are good for 10 years. So you don't have to change them. But we do still want you to test them. Now, when we do fire safety talks, we always talk about smoke detectors. And it gets old, doesn't it? Why do you think we do it? Because they're almost like having a firefighter in your house. When that alarm goes off, what do you think?
You better get moving.
I see, I thought my wife's cooking. So, no. Wife came home the other day and goes, what's this room? I go, it's the kitchen. I do all the cooking at home, so I didn't get this way by being shy, being in the kitchen. So where do you put your smoke detectors? Put one outside a room where you're sleeping. Don't put it too close to the kitchen because even good cooks burn the food, okay? But you have it out there. So smoke detectors. What else do you have besides a smoke detector? Anybody got a carbon monoxide detector? Excellent. Pretty important up here because another show of hands, how many of you have a working fireplace? Whether it's a stove or a fireplace, and that puts off carbon monoxide, so it's important to do that. So we kind of harp on those simple things like make sure you have a working smoke detector, a working carbon monoxide detector, check those batteries and replace them as needed. Anybody get them up really high on the ceiling? How many of y'all like getting up on ladders? I don't either. I never have. Never liked heights. The church I went to in Florida for all these years, one day the pastor asked me to come help him change some smoke detectors in the sanctuary. He goes, I'm a firefighter, I must like it. Or was he wrong? So he goes, I'll get a ladder for you too. So he gets a ladder, and it's a rickety A-frame. And I didn't tell him. Got up there, changed them all out in the sanctuary, big slope. We got done, I said, don't ask me to do that again. I said, I'll find someone to help you. He goes, why? I go, I'm scared of heights. He goes, you work for the fire department. I said, I'm still human. Okay, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. What are some other safety issues you think you have at home or you may not know about yet? Fire extinguisher. She's got a working fire extinguisher. Good. What do you do with that fire extinguisher once a year? I'm guessing nothing. I'll give you a little hint. If you have a rubber hammer at home, turn it upside down and bang it about 5 or 6 times. There's the dry chemical that's in there, will cake. Okay, hit it with a hammer. Rubber hammer, okay? And that'll help loosen that up, so it's good. So those are good for several years, as long as the gauge says it's good to go. A couple other things, and what I brought with me today was a bunch of handouts on things like electrical safety, home safety, trip hazards. Now, I talked to Tim, and the UPass Regional Health Service District, UPRAD, the ambulance service here, they do a really good class on falls. Okay, anybody ever fall at home? Okay, do we have anything in Colorado between like November and April that will help you fall at home? Sure. Okay, I thought it was sand the first year I was here, but apparently it's not. It's snow, right? So another safety thing we don't think about is let's make sure that we keep those steps clear, walkways clear, things like that. We're in the mountains, so up and down hills, it's pretty easy to slip on stuff. So we look for fall safety. We make sure the decks are clear. Anybody use electrical extension cords at home? All the time, okay? What do you need to know about those extension cords? If you're not using them, what should you do? Unplug them. Unplug them, okay? It's important to do that. Who's got an air fryer? Anybody got an air fryer at home? What do you do when you're done cooking? Unplug it. Why? There's been some issues with air fryers that were left plugged in, creating a fire hazard. Like in the 70s, anybody remember the Mr. Coffee? Joe DiMaggio did all the Mr. Coffee commercials. They had a problem with those when they were plugged in, catching fire. So if you have an air fryer, make sure you turn it off. We got 2 big holidays coming up. What are they? Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know what Thanksgiving and the fire department has in common? We work more fires in houses on Thanksgiving every single year than any other day of the year. Why is that? Oh, good me. Oh, what's he got here? Surge protector, power cord, okay? If you're using a extension cord, don't plug your extension cords into that as much. Get that as close as possible to the source, okay? And if you're gonna buy surge protectors, get one that, or a power extender, get one that has a fuse in it. Okay, so, has a fuse in it. It's got a circuit reset button in it. That's just a little bit safer. If it says $2 for 10 of them at Walmart, don't buy those. Thanksgiving's coming. We work more fires in people's houses on Thanksgiving, okay? I'll give you a scenario. Went to a call one day, it's Thanksgiving Day, happened to be on a Thursday, okay? They're at home watching football. Good, that's what a lot of people do, right? Home watching football, sitting in the living room, cooking a turkey in his oil fryer in the living room. You figured out it was wrong pretty quick, okay? We figured it out it was wrong because they called 911 because the house was full of smoke and his living room was on fire. So, safety rule number 1 for Thanksgiving, don't use a turkey fryer in the living room, okay? Or, well, I fry a turkey every year. I love it. Had a captain teach me that when I was a young guy at the fire department, and I love it, but I'm so nervous about it. Especially when I was in Florida, living in a neighborhood, there were kids everywhere. I sat next to that thing the entire time. Don't cook a turkey with a fryer in the living room on Thanksgiving, or really any day. How many of y'all fire off fireworks in your living room for the 4th of July? That's a whole nother story, but I went to a fire for that one too. So, okay, so One thing when we talk about safety is we want to make sure that sleeping safety, so you're in a nice warm environment, you got a smoke detector. Is your bedroom door open or closed? Close it. I've got pictures from a structure fire that we worked in St. Petersburg, Florida, where a 4-bedroom house almost completely burned to the ground, opened up the bedroom door, and it was completely intact. Doors are rated they have a fire rating. They're designed to keep fire and smoke out. Generally, most people who die or are injured in a fire, it's not because of the flames, it's because of the smoke. So working smoke detector, and then make sure that if you're sleeping at night, keep your door closed, okay? Another thing is we talk about using generators. How many have an electric generator or a gas-powered generator at home? And when you have power goes out, you just take that generator, put it in your living room, turn it on so you can supply all of the electrical needs for your appliances, right? Seen that, okay? Yes, don't do that, okay? That's generally a bad mojo. Coming from Florida, hurricanes, storms a lot, generators very popular, and we ran a lot of calls on that because it'll make your CO detector go off pretty quick. So I also brought some stuff with me on, I hate to say it, but you know snow's coming. But I've got some stuff on, it's kind of like a home fire safety checklist, and I've got several copies out there. Obviously, we're just up the road, so if we need more of these materials, we have them. I also have something for what to do for winter freezing emergencies. And some portable generator and winter storms. Okay? Most of the stuff that we run into as fire service professionals for safety issues in the home are some common sense things. That's all it is, just common sense. Trip hazards, electrical cords, cooking. Another thing I'll throw out there with cooking is, how many have kids? Grandkids, great-grandkids. Thanksgiving is a pretty popular time to have the family around the house, isn't it? I love cooking, and a lot of times the kitchen is kind of like the general gathering area because we're cooking, we're good food. Little kids like to run around. Who's got pets? I got pets as well. Make sure simple things like if you're cooking on the stove, make sure those pot handles are turned toward the back or the side so a kid running by can't touch one and spill things on them. Simple stuff like that, and you just don't see it all the time like we do. So really, safety, it's just a quick little thing. Tim, question in the back.
Getting towards winter, what about space heaters? How many people have individual space heaters they move around their house?
Stop it. Are they safe? Yes, they would not be allowed to be out there. They're tested by UL. Yes, but there are some safety things about it. Where should you not put, say, space heaters? Do it? On a carpeted floor. Don't put them in the closet. Don't put them next to a bed where they're able to catch things. A lot of times, what's really popular these days are radiant heaters. Okay? How many of y'all, and I've never worked for this company. I've used these. They're great. How many of y'all ever heard of Envy heaters? Envy heater is about that wide. It goes against the wall. It plugs in. It takes about a day to heat the room up, but it uses only pennies a day, and it is so nice because there's no external electrical coils that you see lit up. It's got a safety mechanism built into it. If it gets bumped, it turns itself off. So there's a whole lot of safety things out there related to space heaters. Space heaters we generally try to stay away from. You shouldn't have a space heater next to the blankets on the couch when you're sitting in your living room frying a turkey. Any other questions? What other questions do you have? Yes, sir. Fire extinguishers. How many people have them? They are rated for what the amount that they can put out. So it's Thanksgiving, and we're cooking, and we have a grease fire. Should we use a fire extinguisher on that? Yes and no. It depends what kind of fire extinguisher it is. What's the one thing we know about not putting on a grease fire? Absolutely. What's the best way to put a grease fire out? I hear flour. Baking soda. One thing even better than that. Cover the pan, smother it. That's it. There's a really cool thing called a fire tetrahedron: fuel, heat, oxygen, and a chemical chain reaction. And so we get rid of any of that, the fire goes out. So if you've got a fire on a pan with grease, cover it. What happens when you throw baking soda on it? You might spread it. Throw water on it, it rises up top, you might spread it. So covering it's one of the best things. Now, at the same time, who should you call? call the fire department. What's the phone number at the fire station? Who cares? Don't call the fire station. The reason why is we might be out on another call, we might be out doing training, we just might not be there, so no one answers that phone. What number do we call? 911. I tell people all the time, I would rather you call 911 100 times and us come out to your house 100 times and it not be that big a deal than you don't call us at one time when it is. Are some refillable? Yes. Commercial fire extinguishers are refillable. And it's funny because we get people come to the fire station thinking that we will refill the fire extinguishers. We have to do them the same way commercial businesses do. We go to a certified fire extinguisher company and they refill it. That's why I mentioned about banging on the bottom of that one. They do the exact same thing. So for your own fire extinguisher at home, rubber mallet, do that. I see a hand. Right here. Electric blankets, I love them. They're fine, okay? Now, if you were gonna look at your electric blanket and saw a frayed cord, would you wanna keep it? No, absolutely not. It's just like any other piece of electrical equipment. Just take a look at it. Is it old? Does it need to be replaced? When you plug it in, do you get sparks?
What if we're not sure everything in our house is safe? Have you guys do anything to help us figure
Absolutely. We will come out. I tell people we're like Domino's Pizza. We're open later and we deliver a lot faster. Okay? If you have something at your house that you need us to come look at, call the fire station, non-emergency, okay? If you think it's an emergency, call 911. But if you want us just to come out and take a look at your house and go, maybe we could work on a few safety things here, then call us by all means. We'll be glad to come out and take a look at that. As a matter of fact, I left several of my cards here with some of the other educational materials. So any questions about anything or any service that we can provide you, don't hesitate to call us.
What if you are flipping your electrical switch and you see a little spark in there?
So you're talking about the electrical switch like a light switch or something? A lot of times that's normal. Now, if your electrical switch is loose, that would concern me a little bit. Any trained electricians in here? I thought I was. I thought I'd change out all my electrical plugs once. And as long as you don't make a contact, you don't really get a spark. So I didn't turn the power off. Wrong. You got to turn the power off. Little things like that are normal. You'll see some of that. If you see a puff of smoke with it, or if that socket is loose, definitely call an electrician or look at it.
Another hazard that has nothing to do with electricity are throw rugs.
Oh, absolutely, throw rugs. I have all wooden floors, and I've got 2 big golden retrievers, and they like to run, and you hear them. Okay, so we go, let's get some rugs down there. Well, one thing you got to remember up here with the less humidity is that dries pretty quick. So how can we solve that problem? Get rid of the golden retrievers. My day's over. They make things that go underneath the rugs to hold them there. But again, that comes back to the part where it is a trip hazard. So look, because sometimes the end of those rugs will curl up a little bit, and I have tripped a couple times on that.
So I have a question about fire extinguishers. Do they go bad after a while, like we have some that we've had for years? Do they do something with it?
If it's a commercial fire extinguisher, it has to be inspected and recharged if it needs to be, and it has to be inspected every year. And I know for a church, that has to be the same way. If it's your own personal one at home, as long as that gauge shows that it's charged, you're pretty good. Now, with that being said, I would replace mine about every 10 years. Yeah. And I will tell you, if you have some fire extinguishers that need to be replaced, hold on to them or bring them to the fire station. We'd be glad to come out and do a fire extinguisher class for you and show you how to use them. Because if you train on it, it's pretty simple. But if you've never, who's ever used a fire extinguisher before? If you've never used one, sitting here at 11 o'clock in the morning when it's nice outside, it seems like an easy thing to do. When there's a fire in your living room and you're going to use your fire extinguisher, sometimes we get a little mush brain. So it's just a little bit of training. So your fire extinguishers that are maybe not completely charged and you need to get them replaced, hold on to those, because we can actually do a training class with them and you actually get to use a fire extinguisher to see how it works.
10 seconds on fire extinguishers and how to use them and not to. let's say, Dean, here's the fire. I don't go up here, I put a speed out, that's where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
That's the thing people always try and do, is they try and hit the flames, the bright part, get down here. It's the same as smothering on this little.
Absolutely. There's a little mnemonic that we use called PASS. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Pull the pin, aim it at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and sweep it back and forth. So Tim just handed me a file for life. It's got a little magnet on the back. It's got information inside. And what this is when EMS, paramedics, and EMTs show up at the house, if you're having a medical emergency, we can actually look at this and have information about who your doctor is, what kind of medications you're taking, what kind of medical history you have. The only one drawback, and this is on you, is we need to make sure if you're going to use one of these, make sure you keep it updated. How often do our medications change? Yeah, things like that. So I have some of these here. If you'd like one, please take one. But please, if you're going to use this, make sure that you keep the information updated.
Where should you put that?
We generally on the refrigerator.
It shouldn't be by the front door.
No, by the refrigerator is best because we're going to go in and try to make a sandwich or something anyway, so we might as well find it there.
Most all EMS, they're all trained to look for it on your refrigerator. That's one of the things they're trained to do.
It is.
What about the freezer? You ever look in the freezer?
On the outside, absolutely. And we generally look for no, not inside, absolutely not. No, generally refrigerator or freezer, we'll find them there. Any other questions, sir?
You talked about the 10-year battery life smoke alarms. In another state, the fire department would actually come out and replace all your builder-installed smoke alarms with those. They provided the alarm, they did the installation. Is that universal or just?
It's not universal. Some of that depends on if those fire departments receive grant money to do it. Now, we will keep some, as a matter of fact, what we'll do is we keep some fire smoke detectors on our fire trucks. So if we go to somebody's house and they have an issue with it, we'll replace that. Now, if you've got some high ceilings where you can't get to them, call us. We'll come out and help with that. A lot of times, like let's say we have a medical emergency at your house. Somebody's called, they fell, maybe they got a broken arm, leg, whatever, chest pain, all the stuff that we come for. You're going to see a lot of us show up. Sometimes you might notice some of us kind of looking around. Well, while we're there on calls like that, we actually do a little impromptu home safety. You know, especially if you're living there by yourself and now we're going to take you to the hospital. We're going to go through your house and really quickly look and make sure there's no space heaters left on, make sure the stove's turned off, make sure that we can lock the door for you and things like that. So if you have questions about it when we're there on a medical emergency, that's generally what we're doing. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. I've left some cards out front. Don't hesitate to call if you have a question, but please, if it's an emergency or if you even think it's an emergency, just call 911. We are a clearinghouse. We get calls all the time. Trust me. I've done some pretty wild things in 41 years. And every time I think, I'll never see that again, I see something even funnier. Don't hesitate to call us. You got my cards outside. If there's anything we do for you at all from Netco Fire, we'd be glad to do it. And again, thank you for offering the time for me to come and talk to you. Thank you.